Quantum Leap's relaunch by NBC has broken one of its most important rules, sending the character Ben Xiang even further back in time than Sam Beckett ever did. Time travel in the show has always been more of just a plot device without any solid or concrete rules, other than a few that make up its overall concept. Let's take a look at how the show breaks this rule, starting with its most important rule. Admittedly, this rule has been broken before, but only once in the original series, with it being blamed on genetics. But it was essential that leapers such as Sam and Ben couldn't travel further than within their lifetimes. Episode 5 of the relaunch outright breaks this rule by sending Ben back to the year 1879, though this debacle was realized by the team in previous episodes, as the project's team found out that he was building up some kind of temporal momentum to break barriers typically set up by the quantum leap. This entire scenario was compared to a slingshot effect, where a spaceship could build up enough momentum because of gravity from a star or planet. It's an interesting take, especially since it implies that the character's first few leaps were specifically chosen relative to some major historical event that might be boosting his time-traveling abilities. Moreover, what does Ben's time travel mean for it? It could have a huge implication for all future time travels for the character. Since he's managed to go beyond the limit of his lifetime, this could also potentially mean that he can now travel throughout history. Even if this is a temporary thing and coming back to a point in his own life can somehow reset his limits, the character may be able to repeat the process, build up enough momentum, and travel further again. Moreover, it makes Sam's disappearance all the more troubling, since he could have also leapt beyond his lifetime and could be anywhere by now. Furthermore, why did they break their most important rule? The show has traditionally used time travel more as a plot device to talk and communicate about social issues, throwing stars into difficult and uncomfortable situations that allowed them to talk about problems in the 90s. Though because of how the relaunch is playing out, it seems like it's going to turn out to be a much different show than before. Their new approach towards time travel means that characters can, at times, deviate from established rules in an attempt to tell a story of a different period, though it still is full of social edges, as we've seen in episode 4 through the Town of Salvation. It was talking about equality, showing that they won't go too far from its core. But this move does open the show up to a lot more potential. Episode 4 even implies that there's another similar project that no one knows about, but somehow Ben has managed to get his hands on it. Lastly, what happens to their body when they leap? The debate over Sam's body has been one of the most heated ones in the show's community, so much so that it's called the Body War. Novelizations that are based on separate episodes assume that his body stayed in his own time, possessed by a succession of minds. These books would at times talk about subplots involving characters such as Al, along with the Quantum Leap team, trying to interview the latest host inside Sam's body to figure out what was going on with him. As incredible as these novelizations were, they're now officially no longer part of the canon, leaving massive implications for the show's pseudoscience. It also means that both characters disappeared as they stepped into the accelerator. Both are now lost in time in every way imaginable. Their bodies merge with whoever they possess. Though this does raise even more questions about how the entire thing works. Hopefully, we get some answers, but going too in-depth might ruin the show. Since it isn't scientifically accurate anyway, over-explaining may impede its immersion. On the other hand, this makes Sam's disappearance even weirder by hinting that it was put into the supercomputer Ziggy instead of it being just an accident, as implied by the original's end. What happened to the character when Ziggy was turned off? As of yet, it's impossible to determine whether he continued leaping or is stuck inside a single body. Moving on, Quantum Leap finally answers the original show's oldest mystery. Coming up, the relaunch. Some major questions have finally been answered by NBC's Quantum Leap relaunch, the biggest of them being what exactly happens to the mind of the person that either Sam or Ben leaps into. Though it may not be scientifically accurate, since time travel in itself is a theoretical science that many shows and films use as a plot device. Time travel in the show is quite different from what we're used to, though. Both characters can leap into host bodies and control their lives during a specific period of time. The original show focused mainly on Sam and Al, his holographic partner, and sidelined many world-building aspects of the show. Episode 4 of the relaunch finally answered that question in an incredible scene where the character Herbert Magic Williams claims that he remembered what being leapt into was like. As a Vietnam War soldier, he was supposed to die in battle along with Sam's brother, but Sam changed the entire timeline to save his brother by jumping into the character's mind at just the right moment. He then remembers a strange feeling, as if he was standing in front of a door. The character could then choose whether to open it or not, but decided to accept what he was experiencing and then soon blacked out. When he came back into his mind a week later, he found out that he had gotten his friends out of trouble once again. Moving on, relaunch confirms the host's experience. It wasn't until years later that the character got security clearance high enough to look at the project files for Quantum Leap with his name inside them, along with records of what would have happened to him if Sam didn't leap into his mind. This is the first time the show has ever talked about what it feels like to be a host for leapers, though admittedly, some stories do play around with the theory that both the host and the leaper jump into each other's minds. It was even hinted at in earlier seasons, along with it being used in novelizations and seasons 4 through 5, but doesn't seem to be canon anymore since it wasn't worked on. Moreover, Magic has no memory of any weird experience. As far as the character was concerned, he simply blacked out. Most hosts end up brushing it off as a side effect of stress, thinking that they just couldn't process whatever trauma they were going through. Additionally, Magic's experience explains the Quantum Leap relaunch. It's getting more clear that the relaunch of Quantum Leap centers on Sam Beckett's disappearance. Again, in episode 4, we see Magic admitting that the only reason he started the project up again was to rescue Sam, despite him not knowing how he's going to achieve that, at least up till now. But things didn't go too smoothly, as in the recent plot twist with his friend Ben, because of leaping from one body to body consecutively, he is trapped inside time as well. Unlike Sam, Ben went into the Quantum Leap accelerator with a mission in his mind. Could it be that he's finally come up with a way to save Sam, even if it's full of dangerous risks? Or is the character trying to change Sam's timeline so that there's somehow a way for him to come back? Hopefully, we're going to get some answers to all these questions, including whether Ben had a good reason to go into the accelerator. Finally, could the relaunch connect with the original show? The revival of the show has confirmed that Al Calavicci is involved, leading to an incredible moment to play off the original show's ending. The ending took place in 1993, as Sam decided to save as many people as he could by constantly leaping through time. In the original ending, during the last scene, Sam takes off to save Al's marriage with Beth, fixing what went wrong in his best friend's life. This ultimately gave the character a second attempt at being in his wife's life, with both then ending up married for 39 years and were parents to 4 daughters. One of his daughters has an ominous role to play in the relaunch. The new show is set 3 decades after the events of the original show, with a focus on Sam's revival by a completely new team. In the opening scenes, we see Ben get a few mysterious messages that convince him to go into the accelerator and start an unauthorized leap. Ben's fiancée, Addison, helped him through his first leap, while Jen Cho, the head of security, figures out that Al's daughter, Janice Calavicci, is involved in his disappearance, opening up a door to a very interesting way both narratives are connected. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Quantum Leap? Do you think Ben will ever find Sam? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.